And that's the bottom line. You want a war? You're gonna get one.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
Now you wanna get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
The crew is back. What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
Another Wednesday coming off a really good last Wednesday. So hopefully we got enough to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know. There's this game coming up.
Yeah.
Sporting the Memphis Showboat Yacht Club tonight.
A little shout out to the Showboats right here. A little shout out. They got a lot of things going. Wisenhunt being the new coach. Turnover in the lineup a little bit. They'll be all right. Maybe not as good as the Battlehawks. They'll be all right.
So the big weekend is finally here. Almost.
Is it? I mean, is it going to be a big weekend, Ed? We're going to talk about
Will
some
there
things
be
that
a three-peat or not?
people are anticipating. I mean, if you ask yourself this question, how many people in America really want the Chiefs to win outside of Chiefs fans? The problem is Philly doesn't have a real huge following for fan bases either.
Well, their fan base kind of cancels that out a little bit.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's really tough.
All the clips over the last week of Philly fans is just
Oh man, they were
weird.
brutalizing Commanders fans walking out. Oh man,
what are you doing, people?
It's like a verbal assaults, physical assaults. I mean, it was not a good look for Philly fans. That's for dang sure. But
it was not.
I mean, I get
Kylie Kelsey can only counteract so much of that.
Yes, I mean it was
As
embarrassing.
horrible and smoking as she is, she can only counteract so much of that.
Yeah, that I saw some of the videos on Instagram and X, and it's like, come on, Philly fans, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's one thing to be passionate fan base, that's fine, but taking it to the level that some people do, I mean, I question, like, what do you guys do in your real life? Like the Eagles or the Chiefs or the Bears or whoever it is, like it consumes so much of your life that you're willing to beat the crap out of somebody because they have Commanders stuff on or whoever's stuff on.
Well, it's now, with cameras, everybody's got a camera in their pocket. Now these people are getting caught and fired and getting arrested. And I mean, I remember as a kid hearing it at the old vet, they had every Sunday they had a courtroom, they had a court, they had bailiffs, they'd haul people down there, and the judge would pass judgment right there at the stadium. I was like, are you insane?
I mean, okay. It's just to me, I just don't understand it. I don't get it. I mean, I love my Bears. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not beating anybody up when they win or when they lose. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, we went to a Minnesota Bears game, I don't know, quite a few years ago, and I never once, it wasn't really bad at all. I mean, I've heard a lot of different stories from going to different places, and that's Minnesota, Chicago. I mean, maybe Minnesota or maybe Chicago, Green Bay's different. I don't know, but I mean, I don't get any of that. Like, I don't. It's just not something that I'm willing to get into. So
I agree. I think it's crazy, but that's what happens.
Fan is short for fanatic. I get it, but man, do we want to be fanatics to the point where we're, beating people up, walking out of the stadium and different things? I don't think so. But I mean, I guess to each their own. You can go to jail for it if you're willing to. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're willing, I guess if you're that committed.
And Brett showed a clip of the Philly fan that had climbed a light pole that fell, and I'm just like,
died, right?
That was
40
the guy
fell on his head.
I mean, that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff to me is just, I mean, it's just not my deal. Like, I'm happy when they win.
22-year-old college student. I don't get it, man.
Yeah, that frontal lobe wasn't all the way developed yet.
No, apparently not. Apparently not.
25 is a real life line of demarcation right there, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But I don't think it is in Philadelphia. It looks like it might be 45 up there.
Yeah.
before we turn Brett loose on the UFL, welcome Henry and Marty and Robert, Lauren to the show. Marty, thanks for sharing our podcast on your page. Much appreciated. But we got some stuff going on in the UFL. Today they announced some of the coaching staff. So, Brett, why don't you take it away?
They announced pretty much all the coaching staffs today. St. Louis, pretty much on par with what they had last year. Memphis has made more changes than anyone. The Tom Cable pickup with them is going to really help with their offensive line. They made some exciting trades or acquisitions here recently. Also, the Michigan Panthers have the exact same roster, just about coming back along with their coaching staff. And that's coming off a playoff team that gave Birmingham every bit they wanted in Birmingham for the playoffs last year. That's going to be a tough team to reckon with. I think from top to bottom, the Panthers have the best defensive line in the league. I think St. Louis is coming in second right now. There's still going to be some players added and unfortunately cut between now and kickoff. But that's kind of where you're at on some of the coaching staffs. Birmingham's got probably more turnover than anyone other than Memphis, and that's on the defensive side of the ball. On offense, everyone is back from last season on the coaching staff.
Arlington has got everybody back except for a new defensive coordinator.
Right. And, the controversial thing is the Houston Roughnecks coaching staff. They are back with pretty much everyone from last year coming off a 1-9 season. Not to mention that, if you guys remember, they've had a lot more roster turnover this offseason. There was 30 players around about that just decided, that maybe we want to try to do something else. And keep in mind, this is a second chance league where a lot of these players are trying to get back in the NFL and trying to extend their careers. But yet, for some reason, they just couldn't get together with the coach and stay, along with Odom here, which was the USFL Defensive Player of the Year a couple years ago. He's a big sack guy. You see his sack total and some of his statistics, so he's open game right now. I could see Memphis Birmingham, St. Louis will definitely be in the mix for Odom. I still don't understand with not to knock the league at all. They know what they're doing. They've done a really good job thus far. Really some exciting stuff. We keep hearing about expansion, but still really surprising that DeFilippo was replaced in Memphis and CJ Johnson was not replaced in Houston. And
As
I
you,
think what was CJ's coaching record, Ed? Did you have that?
yeah, as a NCAA head coach, his record was 15-34. As a UFL head coach, his record is currently 6-14. So his overall record as a head coach is 21-48.
That's a head scratcher because there's a lot of good coaches in the UFL. If you look at some of the names and some of their coaching records from Skip Holtz, the Michigan Panthers coach, of course we all know the San Antonio coach. I mean, we all know and love him. I still thought as of 90 days ago that CJ would be gone in Houston, and he's back. They've already had a fan day down there. A lot of your season ticket holders showed up for fan day. Now the exciting thing is they've got a lot of new players that's going to be in Houston this year, and they're back at their home stadium at TDECU Stadium, where the Houston Cougars play. There you go. I mean, Wade Phillips at San Antonio. You've had,
Michigan and San Antonio both brought back everybody.
Right.
Here's
Brett.
San Antonio, and I'll put Michigan up here quick.
Brett, the biggest question that I have is we've got Nolan. Well, you've got Becht, Phillips, Stoops, Barlow, Holtz, Nolan, Wisenhunt.
Right.
Well, I look at those 7 coaches and I'm like, they bring a lot of either spring football experience and success or success across the board from college to NFL.
Right.
CJ Johnson to me just seems like a coach that doesn't fit it with those other 7 names. Am I missing something?
No, and look, I'm wearing a Roughneck shirt tonight from the original XFL 2020. If everyone remembers, the Roughnecks were 5-0, and I think at the time was by far the best team in the league when COVID hit and they had to shut the league down under McMahon. They had a very, very big, solid following there in Houston, and I know there's how they did things was it hurt the fan base last year when they kept the Houston Roughneck name and label and logos and colors and all that, but they brought over the Houston Gambler players from the USFL along with the coaches, including CJ. And then you stick them in Rice Stadium, which they had no choice last year because TDECU Stadium was going through renovations, similar to the Liberty Bowl this year in Memphis. I'm pulling for Houston. I know they're in, Birmingham's division. They're in the USFL division now. But, like I said, there's a lot of super fans from XFL 2020 that's holding out hope for Houston. I'm just surprised they didn't go out and get a different coach. A Wisenhunt. June Jones, which led them to that 5-0 record in 2020. And he also ran the offense for the Seattle Dragons, Sea Dragons, and XFL 2023, and they had a very good offense. Again, I know June's got some off-the-field issues. I mean, we've all got skeletons in our closet. I think we've all talked about this before. We're all floored by CJ coming back this season.
So, William, we want to thank William for having our show on his fan page. But the gauntlet's been thrown down by, it looks like, a Houston Roughneck fan. So St. Louis, here's what he's got to say. The Roughnecks will lead the USFL conference in attendance.
Man, I hope so. And I think it's going to really benefit them kind of overhauling that roster. I think some of those moves they made with Reuben Foster, Odom, and some of those guys, it was kind of a mutual deal. And then some of it was the coaches just wanting to overhaul everything.
I hope he's right.
I
hope
know.
he's
Well,
right
I know
when it
we
comes
got
to
some
attendance.
Michigan fans watching on the comment line. What do they got to say about the Roughnecks throwing down the gauntlet on attendance this year? I know they had Detroit's got the friendly confines of Ford Field. I would say the Michigan pride has to shine this year, don't it?
Well, and I also mentioned earlier, and I hope I got the team right. Tom Cable is supposed to really, really, really help Houston's offensive line this year, which that was a big problem for Houston. They were lacking at the quarterback position, but they did not have a lot of help on the line. Well, we'll see, man. Their roster is very, very new. That's probably out of the 8 teams, from last year. That's the one team with the biggest question mark is, can they succeed under Johnson? I mean, they went 5-5 under Johnson in the USFL with the Gamblers. And again, you had Birmingham in there. You had a bunch of other really good teams in there. But last year was just hopefully that'll just we can give them a mulligan for just so many reasons. But
So,
Michigan's going to be tough. That defensive line, they've got Wes Hills back there, running back. From last season that got hurt mid-season. But they are going to be a problem this season for anyone that faces Michigan.
So Brett, we got some other news too that you found out today in the UFL concerning the kickoff.
Right. Moose did a lot of interviews today, and I can't remember the venue, but they were in New Orleans. He was doing that for the Super Bowl, and he mentioned, and I'll share the clip after the show on the bottom line and to the UFL groups. But basically, he said, the NFL started keeping up with concussions since 2016. And since 2016, this has been the least amount of concussions they had this season. I think partly a small part might have been that a few of those guys wore those new helmets, but I think a lot of it had to do with the new kickoff rule. Personally, I liked the USFL and XFL kickoff rules. It didn't sway me really either way, but it only made sense after the NFL switched. After UFL played last year, the NFL switched this season to the XFL kickoff. And if these guys are trying to get back to the NFL, it only makes sense for them to follow the same kickoff scheme. Also,
Brett, before you go on with that, it was pretty exciting to hear that they were bringing the old kickoff rule back, especially, that was an XFL rule that was near and dear to our hearts. And the reason I say that is St. Louis had the very first XFL kickoff return for a touchdown. Let's turn back the pages in time and take another look, courtesy of the St. Louis Battlehawk website.
Kicker from the 30. Return team lined up at the opposite 30. Can't move till the ball is fielded. And here goes Keith Mumphrey. And they're going to turn it around with room on the near side. And for the first time, they get creative. And the Battlehawks have the sideline. And a kickoff return for Joe Powell to the end zone. And now they say he stepped out. No, touchdown, St. Louis.
Oh, nice.
Oh man, that look at those Guardian uniforms and those blue helmets in St. Louis. Brings back old memories. Rest in peace, Guardians. Maybe you guys will be back in Orlando next year, or maybe back in New York in the future.
We had Posh remembers the old Guardian helmet.
And that logo, I've got shirts, I've got the uniform, I've got the mini helmet.
I like the original color scheme in 2020 better than the 2023 version. But
Yes, sir. Yeah. I don't want to get in trouble for knocking the changes from XFL 2023. I've made those known publicly on numerous occasions, but some changes were good, some maybe not so good, but we're here now. And we're talking expansion.
Right.
Not playoffs. We're talking expansion.
Right.
so I still got that. You did that interview. You did that poll a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about the expansion sites. Do you have the results of that, Brett?
Yes, sir. I think I sent them to you.
You probably did.
But the results, the winners, so to speak, what the fans voted on, we had about, I'd say 220, 225 votes. I wanted to put that back up there now that we're getting closer to the UFL season, because I can already tell that the United Football League fans group's already starting to pop a little bit. People are coming out of hiding. But Seattle was by far the lead dog in that. They came in number one. Tied at number two was San Diego and Ohio. I did Canton / Columbus, although more than likely it would be in Canton. Number four was Oklahoma City / Tulsa, because we've heard rumors about both those cities in Oklahoma. And number five was New Orleans. Now, Seattle was a clear-cut favorite. I want to say they had about 27% of the vote. In second place, again, San Diego and Canton had 17%. I want to say Tulsa, Oklahoma had 7%, and New Orleans had 5%. Now, we had 18 cities on there to choose from, but that was the results of the poll. And I thought that was pretty cool that people already know we had the XFL in Seattle in 2020 and 2023, and the word on X, Instagram, and Facebook is that they would pretty much like for Seattle to come back, and that's people were voting Seattle that was all over the country. I saw Birmingham fans I knew vote for Seattle. So I would be floored from all the rumors and everything we've heard that Seattle will not be one of the two new sites next season when they expand.
Don't you think that guides us then to probably at least another team on the West Coast?
I would think so. Me and Ed has talked about that with logistics and everything. There's a lot of diehard fans, and I'm one of them, that were high on Portland, that was also high on Oakland. The problem is Oakland's venue is probably twice as old as I am. From what I gather, it's in disrepair. And again, it's in Oakland, California, which doesn't necessarily have the best reputation of cities in America. They've lost every team they had in Oakland. The A's are gone. The Golden States went to San Francisco. They don't even have a team now. And I think the league is definitely considering San Diego, because that city in Oakland is about all you can compare to St. Louis, because those two cities have also lost their NFL teams. So you've got hungry fan bases there.
And if you look about geographics, with the hub being in Arlington, San Diego is not as long a flight as you may think.
Right.
So it would make sense to cut the distance down for Seattle, give another team on the West Coast, but also be able to add a team to the West Coast without adding a lot of airtime. So,
right.
I also put Vegas on that list, and what surprised me, and I think a lot of people kind of heard behind the scenes what happened with that whole disaster in 2023. Some people think it was a great venue to watch football, but where the Vipers had to play, well, that at Lawler or whatever was passed when Mark Davis decided to bring the Raiders to Vegas. The understanding was no other team could play at Sam Boyd Stadium as long as he was the owner, the city was owner. Well, anyways, the ownership of Sam Boyd Stadium, where UNLV used to play, has changed hands. And that's where you had the 2001 was the Vegas Outlaws, and that was the location of the very first ever XFL game when The Rock came out there, at midfield and introduced the players and the teams, and everybody went wild. The stands were full. So do not discount the fact that Vegas is possible. Yep.
Mike makes a comment here that Vegas would be a good option. But then again, here's another comment of somebody that used to live in Oakland that he doesn't believe that they would support a team in Oakland.
That surprises me considering, they were, my goodness, the Raiders fans were such rabid fans in Oakland, and they've lost all their teams. I mean, again, they lost the Raiders, they lost the A's, they lost the Golden State Warriors, and hell, they were all right there sharing the same parking lot, where those teams played. So maybe that's the case. If you held a gun to my head, I would say Seattle's definitely one of the two next year, and it would only make sense to have a team in San Diego at Snapdragon Stadium. But we will see. There's been a lot of rumors, and we've heard this for 2 years now about Louisville. That Louisville was even a rumor back when the USFL was looking at maybe adding some teams or doing the starting back up. We had Louisville on the list. I don't know if they received maybe 2 or 3 votes. So that's interesting.
No rumors about Omaha.
We put Omaha on the list. Matter of fact, Omaha probably finished 6th. I love Omaha. Honestly, I would take Seattle, Omaha. But I'm big on Portland too. Portland had a USFL team in the original USFL, and they've got a perfect venue where they play soccer games there in Portland. Portland does a great job of supporting the Trailblazers. It would be an instant rivalry with Seattle. And then logistics there, if you ended up housing both teams there close, that would make a lot of sense. But yeah, I would love Omaha. Would they play at Creighton, you think, if that was a possibility?
That would be my guess.
Yeah, I would say so too.
That would be my guess. But I think Omaha's a real diamond in the rough. I think that Omaha would probably draw better than most people think.
Yeah.
Omaha, it's my belief Omaha would draw way better.
What's
Omaha would draw a lot better than I think people would anticipate.
Yeah, I believe so too.
I could honestly see, aside from St. Louis, what's that, Chad?
What are they, like 650, 700, 750,000?
Right.
Just Omaha now?
Yeah, but I could see Omaha being in the top, definitely the top half of attendance automatically.
No,
maybe
I'm with
St.
you.
Louis and DC. I mean,
yeah, I'm with you on Omaha. That's another favorite of mine. I think we need. At some point, they're going to have to go out west for TV numbers. You've got to have a couple teams out there as many people watch ball. Obviously, they've got so many choices, and supposedly they were sending out, feelers to so many cities. What did we hear? Was it 30 cities we heard that they were sending feelers out to?
I think you're right.
I just feel like it's got to expand 2 teams, but I just feel like Seattle's a lot for one of those locations.
I would think the travel would just be, as a fledgling league, the travel is just it'd be such a tax on revenue.
Yeah.
To have those teams travel all the way out to Seattle and Portland.
Well, but Chad, that's why the hub is. That's why everybody's located in Arlington.
Oh,
Excuse me,
Oh.
and that's why Ed.
Okay, I guess I didn't understand that. So St.
Yeah.
Louis isn't actually, they don't practice or anything in St.
No.
Louis.
No.
They're all in Arlington. They just opened a new headquarters there in Arlington. The teams stay and practice, live. Training camp is all in Arlington, and then when it's game time, they fly out to the cities. It's a lot more cost effective. The city of Arlington gave the league a real sweetheart deal by doing that. When the USFL came back in 2022, their hub was Birmingham, and they housed all the teams there in Birmingham. You all house them right there. It's a hell of a lot cheaper as opposed to flying them back and forth like that. So at some point, they are going to get the teams back to their home cities where they're actually living and staying there. But yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, brother. Like Birmingham, Brock's a big Stallions fan. I love Brock. The Birmingham fans are so whiny about having the Stallions in Birmingham, but Brock's just like I am. I live an hour from Birmingham. I think Brock lives an hour and a half from Birmingham. Could it help with attendance with them staying there in their local cities? Maybe, but there's a lot of us that go to these Stallions games that don't live in Birmingham. So what does it really matter where they're housed?
Right.
A lot of people get real, and when I was at the Fan Fest in November in Birmingham, there was fans asking about it, complaining about it, and I thought, guys, I mean, we're there to not watch football, not run into them at a pizzeria. You know what I mean? I mean, I get what they're, but I don't think it's as big a deal as some people are making it out to be.
Okay, maybe this is too in the weeds, but logistically, I'm thinking about this. So do they pack up everything and fly everything out for each games, or do they have a bunch of equipment in Birmingham and then they just fly out for game day and they have all?
That's a fantastic question, and I think they pack it up because they go to Birmingham but like Arlington, say for instance, Arlington is there at home. And so, like, teams say, we like when we play Arlington because we don't have to go nowhere.
Right. Yeah, Chuck Long made that clear, like they're on the same plane. Like they're flying on the same plane. The teams are flying on the same plane.
Yeah.
So St. Louis, when St. Louis plays Arlington in St. Louis, they're on the same plane and everything's going to St. Louis. So it's a road game for both. Because he asked Coach Long about that, and he's like, they're all road games, really. Yeah,
and AJ mentioned that too on the on that podcast he was on a couple months back. He said my first game, after signing with XFL, and he said we get on the plane, and he said I turn around, he said, hell, the other team's back there, and it can make for some interesting flights back to Arlington.
Yeah.
So, Brett, can you answer this question? Mike asks, did Birmingham have any better attendance when their own games? For their own games when they were in the USFL hub versus the UFL?
Let me tell you, Mike, and I've said this on the show before, what has really hurt Birmingham and Memphis and San Antonio was 2019, the AAF. It was a fantastic concept. They did a great job with some of the locations, the team names, the uniforms. I mean, the fans were all in. I'm going to tell you, Birmingham, for two of their games at Legion Field now, and this is where they would not allow night games because it was Legion Fields in a really rough part of Birmingham. They had 18,000 fans in the stands 2019. The problem with what the AAF did was they left everyone holding the bag when they bellied up at the end of the season. All their vendors, everyone they used were from those local cities, whether it was hotels, whether it was restaurants, all their signage, everything they purchased and ordered in those cities. And a lot of those people, of course, they're from those cities. They've got friends, they've got relatives. People were still watching the news like crazy back then, and it gave spring football a huge black eye in Memphis, in Birmingham, and San Antonio. Players were told in the middle of practice, hey, we're done. That's it. Go, stop. Don't do anything else. Leave all your equipment here. They get back to their hotel rooms and their bags are out in the parking lot. Some of these guys were hitching rides trying to figure out how they were going to get back home. And this made mainstream media, all the local news networks, the newspapers, and I feel like Birmingham, Memphis, and San Antonio, when you look at those attendances from 2019 to the UFL now, have still not recovered from what the AAF did. And I really think, Mike, that's more about the attendance than whether the team is staying in Birmingham or not, because they go and do events in these cities 3, 4, 5 times a year. They're doing all kinds of different things for kids. They're trying to get out there to the public.
So what they're trying to do, I mean, I think we've talked about this a little bit, but don't you think the next stepping stone, from what we at least were hearing from the league, they were very happy with television last year, very happy with the exposure they had that way. I mean, is the next step, how do we get butts and seats? That's got to be the next step, right?
Well, that's what they're talking about. They really need attendance to go up 5, 10, 15% this year. There's scuttlebutt we've heard from Mark Perry with UFL News Hub and some other rumors that they expect attendance might even be down from last season. All I know is that they are continuing to grow on all the social media platforms, and I expect the viewership to maybe go up 25 to 50% this season from last season. So that's going to help with their sponsors. Ultimately, you've got to get more hind ends in the seats. I think what Memphis did will help eventually, although they're going through stadium renovation. I think what Houston did, getting back to the regular venue, will help. I'm not sure about the other cities. I'd be really surprised if Michigan did not improve their attendance from next season. I don't know if it's the economy or what the rumor is going around that Mark Perry had mentioned about that they were expecting attendance to be down a little bit because they've got a few more boots on the ground this year in these cities.
Well, breaking news from
What's
Michigan.
the average ticket price?
And they're anywhere from $20 to $50.
Breaking news from Michigan. E.J. Perry has been released by the Michigan Panthers.
Wow.
Wow.
Hmm.
Well, don't you think
They
think
had
that,
4 quarterbacks signed.
Yeah. But don't you think that when it comes to attendance, they were really trying to drive it last year, and Ed, you were a season ticket holder in St. Louis. Brett, you didn't have season tickets last year in Birmingham, correct?
No, I've had season tickets every year. This is going to be the first season where I probably do a buy game scenario, and that's because of my job situation.
Right. But my thought process is, in their effort to try to get people in the stands and in different venues and things like that, it may have actually hurt the overall season tickets this year. And I think they're basing some of that off of, well, our season ticket sales are down. Okay. But I've talked to a lot of people and heard a lot of people say, well, I'm not getting season tickets. I'm just going to get game by game.
Look, Birmingham is huge walk-up crowd for spring football. If people knew what type of tickets we had sold before our games, they would be like, oh, no. But no, sometimes 50% of our crowd is walk-up crowd. Some cities are more like that. And unfortunately, with what happened last year, you're going to see more of that. I think we're going to be fine on attendance. And I'm really excited to see the TV numbers. Because you know how much I'm on social media and I keep up with it. And their name is getting out there. It really is. And it's only going to grow. Football is king in this country.
Chief making a comment on the line. I just want to let him know I'm supporting him tonight. But he says they're busting their tail to grow a larger fan base in Memphis. So
Yep. Yeah, well, come to Birmingham if you would when you guys travel on that Friday night game. I know what Bill Alexander's bringing a crew with him, and I'd definitely love to meet you guys. But yeah, Memphis, I think you've got the right guy. I think Whisenhunt and some of the moves he's making, just give him time. You guys had a rough season last year, but I think Whisenhunt is there to stay. He loves coaching, and look at Skip Holtz. Look at a lot of these guys. They don't want to deal with the stress of the NFL, and they definitely don't want to deal with the madness of college football with the NIL. So that's a real good hire for me.
Chuck Long's answer, offensive coordinator for the Arlington Renegades last week, pretty much put that in perspective. Would you go to college if you had a job? No. I mean, just no.
It was answered for. I asked him. I was wanting to know how he was going to word it.
Yeah, not a chance.
Yeah.
So let's take a break. And when we come back from the break, I want to touch on one more thing with the UFL and get your guys' thoughts. But courtesy of the UFL, we'll be right back.
The best of the best is coming together. There's no more what ifs. We're all one league now.
Ready to shut it off. I'm number one in the building.
There's no more talk. Put up or shut up. We'll see who the top dogs is now.
Strap it up and line it up.
Joining forces means more power.
Delirium in D.C.
More potential. More reach.
Unbelievable.
Look for a chance to play ball, man. A chance to show that you still got it.
The hunger is unreal.
Helmet goes on. Nothing else in the world matters.
Tell them I'm ready. Whenever they want is I'm ready.
A league that pushes the envelope and opens the door to living the dream.
I've been an underdog my whole career.
Football is kind of my last resort. If I could just get this one little break.
Brace the moment, man. This is as fun as it gets right here.
United, they stand to stake a claim to springtime for America's favorite game. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready. You know we ready. Yes, sir. Ready to run it back.
Hell yeah, I'm ready.
For a new era.
Let's go.
New challenges.
Best in the nation.
A new beginning.
The time is now.
Line it up, Playboy. Let's do it.
I can't wait to see you guys play.
Are you ready?
This is the United Football League.
Just don't blink.
This is more than a game. It's passion that fuels us. The action.
My goodness.
The excitement. The pride.
To the end zone. Touchdown.
Where stars emerge.
He got smoked.
Where legacies begin.
You're feeling awfully confident right now.
Where the future of football is taken to new heights.
Touchdown. Bam. He got whacked.
Get ready.
Just bad intentions. Wow.
For more football this spring.
Playing with some swagger.
A new UFL season kicks off on March 28th.
So we are back. Wanted to touch on the rule that we use in the UFL for at the end of the game, the fourth and 12. It's been 4th and 15 too, I believe. But as we talk about the ending of a game never being quite out of reach, I want to play you a clip of just what I'm talking about here. And when we get done watching this was a game that DC had, I believe, with Arlington. See how fast a team can come back at the end of the game with this kind of rule. And you guys tell me whether you think it's the next up-and-coming rule that the NFL might entertain.
Kicker from the 30. Return team lined up at the opposite.
Let's try this one. This was probably
try that one. Try the right one.
To Harris. Is he in? Yes, sir, he is. To Amu. Under pressure. He's going to tuck it and run. Is he in? Yes, sir. League is all about here. This type of play. To Amu with time. Throws it over the middle. Caught by his receiver. First down.
So on the fourth down, or on the kickoff in lieu of, they did the 4th and 12 and got it.
Picked off. Harmon down the sidelines and pushed out. The kick is up. It is good.
So Armando,
DC has come from behind.
11 points in 54 seconds.
So in lieu of a kickoff, they got
And
Holy
4th
smokes.
and 12 from what? Their
25. Right?
from their 20, they kick
20.
off. The UFL rule this year was they kick off from the 20. And the reason being is we had an 89% return rate in the UFL, where the NFL had got down to what, 10, 15%. They didn't even have a kickoff returned in last year's Super Bowl. That's why they went to the XFL kickoff. So as opposed to an onside kick, you would go for, say, a 4th and 12 from your own 20. You can only do that when you're behind late in the game. The believe it or not, the percentages are so low now. They've made it so tough in the NFL to get an onside kick. The NFL is entertaining this 4th and 12, or possibly the XFL version, which was 4th and 15.
You know what kills me about all this? This is what kills me about all this. We were talking about this prior to the show. Kickoff that the NFL uses now came from where?
In spring football, XFL.
The Sky Cams. came from
XFL.
where? Okay. Now they're talking about adding a 4th and 15 or a 4th and whatever in lieu of kicking off.
Yeah.
Again, a spring football idea.
Right. Right.
You know, I mean, it would be nice if once in a while the NFL would acknowledge the fact that, hey, you know, this idea came from,
No.
you know.
Yeah. If it wasn't for spring football, we would still be stuck in the mud over here, and every kickoff would be a touchback, and every this would be a that. And will they ever be transparent like the UFL? You can't compete with how the UFL officiates these games. Coaches, Chad, can challenge any call at any time during the game.
Yep.
And you can hear them in the replay booth, back in LA, discussing the call and explaining why they're going with this ruling.
So they can challenge a face mask or
Yes.
pass interference or holding.
Yes.
Yep. And
Yes.
the thing about it is, when I was at the game, the opener last year with Ed, when there's a challenge, it's up on the big board, and he's talking like they're talking between the officials. You can hear everything they're saying.
Yeah, inside the stadium, you can hear them just like you're watching on TV. Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about kickers.
I will say at the beginning of the season for the kickoff, I don't know if the NFL talked about it, but all the broadcasters talked about it the first couple of weeks before, when they were doing just about every kickoff. They talked about that it was from the UFL or the NFL, whatever. So I don't know about the league. The league probably didn't.
The league never mentioned it.
But the broadcasters were all mentioning, which is essentially the league. I mean,
But
they're
as
the
you
mouthpieces for the league.
But what they've done is, I think what the NFL is going to have to do before this next season is, instead of putting the ball at the 30 for a touchback, they need to put it at the 40.
Right. If they want more kick returns.
Yeah, they need to promote even more kick returns. But you know, as you talk about a pipeline to the NFL from the UFL, when I showed you the game between the Renegades and DC, who kicked that game-winning field goal for the Renegades? None other than, for DC.
Was McCrabb. Then you had Aubrey with Birmingham, and then of course you had Bates with Michigan.
Yep.
They've all got NFL experience. Of course, two of them's in the league right now. And then look at the great little return guy from the New Jersey Generals. It's about 5'6". He is now an All-Pro with the Dallas Cowboys in the slot receiver, and that's Turpin. Turpin's been the number one returner in the NFL the last 2 years, and he came in through the USFL.
Yeah. So my question would be like, what's next? The UFL has the 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, conversion after a touchdown. Is that next?
Well,
is the transparency with the replay next? Is it challenging anything next? I mean,
I don't know if they'll ever be transparent, but I do know that one of the other rules, I know the competition committee met last month and it hadn't been released officially yet. Of course, it was finally released today by Moose's conversation about the kickoff going back to the XFL kickoff. But they are going to start back, from what I gather, kicking the extra point. See, before, Eric, you score a touchdown on a 1 point conversion, you got to go for the 1 point conversion from the 2 point conversion from the 5 yard line. And if you want to go for a 3 point conversion, you can. That's from the 10 yard line. But they are going to start kicking the extra point this season. It'll be like the NFL or college, 33 yard, extra point.
Oh, right. So they're stealing something from the NFL. Okay.
No.
You just said they were going to do the extra point.
Everybody's always done the extra point.
Not from the 33. That's the.
Well, it's going to be a 33 yard extra point.
Yeah. That's the NFL. They moved it from spotting it at the 2 to spotting it at the whatever.
That's peanuts.
See, you can't even admit that. No, but you hold the NFL to the standard of they have to admit everything that's just the NFL.
If the UFL wants to copy the NFL, they would just put bubble wrap and dresses on their quarterbacks. But thankfully, they actually let them play football.
Right.
Okay, so rules and standards for thee, but not for me. Got it. Okay.
All those innovations we talked about was spring football innovations.
Sure. The NFL should but I will tell you, you're taking one from them, and you're not admitting it.
But Chad, I will tell you,
extra point's an extra point.
Well, no, but here's the reason. The reason I like the fact that they're adopting that is because the UFL has sent a lot of kickers to the NFL. Yeah. So it only makes sense that they're doing that for the UFL kickers, because that is something that the NFL would want to see from their kickers. So, to me, that does make sense for them to do. Simply,
and the USFL always kick the extra point.
I just want Brett to admit that the UFL is stealing something from the NFL. That's all.
Because they merged with the USFL, and the USFL kicked the extra point. So,
but not from the 33.
So I know.
It's going to be from the 23. It'll be a 33 yard extra point.
Okay. I just want to make sure I know where Brett stands on this.
He's a spring football homer for sure.
Well, let me tell you, I wouldn't piss on the NFL if they were on fire. That's where I stand. But that's just me.
I understand that, but I'm just that you expect them to be the better man, but not yourself. Got it. I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. I just like it when even yourself, Chad. You're not a huge spring football fan, so spring football is the people that are involved in spring football, like the rest of us. When you see the NFL take from this, it gives it some justification if the NFL is actually taking a look at it. So our argument to people who maybe aren't spring football people is like if you take a look at it,
give it a chance.
It's really good football. It really is. And the added things that I was talking about with replay and the offensive coordinators and the quarterbacks being mic'd up, and the coordinator will sit there like with Coach Long and whatever coordinator it is, they'll be like Y right, Z slant. You can hear the play call. It's phenomenal. It's fun.
Yeah.
What do they ensure? What do they do to ensure that the defense isn't listening to that?
I gotta believe it's on a little bit of a delay.
It's a delay. Yeah, I can't remember how many seconds it is, but it's a delay.
Yeah, it's on a little bit of a delay. That way, you don't have somebody going.
So it's not true live football. Okay.
Everything's on a delay. You think when we watch the Super Bowl Sunday, it's not on a 15 or 20-second delay in case somebody's boob pops out or anything else?
Don't take the bait, Brett. Do not take the bait, Brett. Do not take the bait. He just hung some cheese out there for somebody to take. Don't take it.
Speaking of
cheese.
So does that wrap up the UFL talk?
I think so.
What else did we hear? What else did we learn? I'm sure we're missing something, but
hey,
so I got a question for you. So when does training camp start?
February 27th.
27th. Yep.
And all of that's in
Arlington. Yep. Each team has 2 scrimmages. I mean, we had a schedule in the rundown that they'll have cuts just like they do in NFL. They've got so many players on rosters now. When they start camp, they got to have whatever it is, and then 15 or 20 guys per cut.
What's the final roster size?
We got just under 3 weeks before
50.
the coaches report.
Do they start at 75, Brett? I can't remember what the number is that they start at.
66 this year.
Oh, it's 66 down to 50 then. Okay.
Yeah.
And the final cuts are March 21st, so that's basically a week before kickoff.
Right.
So yeah, there's the schedule as far as training camp, scrimmages, joint practices. But yeah, coaches report the 24th and players report the 27th. So I can't wait. We're 2 months away, Ed. 2 months away.
Like I've been saying, like Chuck Long said last week, it's the purest form of football now. I'm sorry.
So let's go ahead and
NFL.
Let's go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we will be talking the UFL. We'll be right back.
NFL.
Boy, Brett really didn't want to talk about the NFL, huh?
No, he's bailing.
Was it my teasing?
Must have been. You got them all shook up.
You were just like, here, Brett, take the cheese. Take the cheese, Brett. Take the cheese. God.
Yeah, Chad didn't get the nickname Pimp Daddy for nothing.
Yeah, he's reeling him in, and Brett's just eating her up, baby. He's just eating her up.
A guy at my old job used to call me Conrad Dobler, but I was the instigator.
So, I mean, we talked a lot about UFL. I mean, what is there really to talk about in the NFL, Ed? I mean, really, anything?
Oh God, there's some game they like playing at the end of the season that's supposed to mean something.
Oh, well,
and I guess the Chiefs have been a part of 3 of them, so in a row. So
I saw a graphic said people rooting for the Eagles. There was a circle around Philadelphia with the eagle. People rooting for the Chiefs, circle around Kansas City with Kansas City logo. And then a big gray area in the rest of the United States, people hoping for a meteor strike. Jeez Louise, man. It's not that bad. I mean, I enjoyed the Super Bowl. I just never watched my team in it, but I do enjoy watching the Super Bowl. I mean, hopefully with Ben Johnson, things are going to get better. I think he's putting together a pretty good coaching staff.
So you weren't alive for Super Bowl 20, or you have no memories of Super
No,
Bowl?
I was alive, and I tell you what, this is my best memory of Super Bowl 20, Super Bowl XX. I had a buddy of mine who was a huge Minnesota Viking fan. Shout out to Tim O'Mara. He drew a picture. I wish I still had it. He drew a picture of a Patriot player stomping on the helmet of a Bear player, and he handed it to me in school because I was in elementary. I don't remember what I'd probably been 3rd grade or something like that, and I can remember just being infuriated by it. And then, of course, we all know what the Bears did to the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
It wasn't pretty.
It wasn't pretty. That game was.
It was
over.
pretty. It was pretty.
It was awesome as a Bears fan, but as a Super Bowl, it wasn't much of a game. And I can just remember the even in 3rd grade, the brutality that he took on that Monday was choice.
I had to work. I had
did?
to work. I had to work at Bonanza washing dishes all day. I told everybody they could. I was recording it on the VCR, and I told everybody to not say anything about the game. And then when I was done with my shift, I walked out of work like this. I drove home. I didn't have the radio on. I walked in the house. I said, "Nobody say anything."
And then you saw the expression on their face.
And then I went down and hit play and enjoyed it.
Do you know what the saddest part of being a Bears fan is I have probably rewatched Super Bowl 20 probably 15 times since then. Different times it'll come across, whatever, and I'll be like, I'm going to watch it, XX, ouch, bud. 32 waist. That hurts, man. That hurts. But, I mean,
32?
36. Sorry, 36. 36.
No,
32
say,
inseam. 32
you must be wearing those skinny jeans.
Yeah, no. Skinny jeans are not in my repertoire. I can promise you that.
I don't know. When I met him at that wrestling tournament, he had jeans. He had the embroidering all over the back pockets.
Oh, no, he didn't. No, he didn't.
No. There were even
if I have to bring my wife on here to defend me, Chad, I will bring my wife on here to defend me. She knows what jeans I own, and they're $29 jeans from Baumgars.
So Brett's probably trying to figure out what the hell happened while he was gone, that he comes back on the show, and we're talking skinny jeans.
No, I was watching the show. I was just smoking a cigarette because Chad had me ill.
I don't want to offend Brett because I know he's big into skinny jeans and things like that, but it's not my deal, Brett. So I'm sorry.
Man, every time I see a young kid in skinny jeans, I don't tell them, you realize what we would have done to you back in the day wearing those.
Well, one thing is for sure, leading up to the Super Bowl, is that the media has definitely got Kansas City fatigue.
Oh,
because there's been some press conferences in New Orleans that have been pretty dicey, where the media is kind of trying to bait the Chief players into saying a few things before the game. And so far, the Chiefs have been deflecting them pretty good.
I should have sent you guys the clip of the little troll, and I love the guy. I'm going to find out who he is, and I'm going to see if he needs a cohort, and I'm just follow him around and troll people, because that's my thing, Chad would probably take us up on that offer as well. But he got a question in on Travis Kelce and said, Travis, do you love Taylor Swift more, or do you love Phantom 15-yard pass interference calls on 3rd down more?
Here was another one. So they asked Patrick
I said, yeah. And Travis Kelce said, oh, that's a good one. Next question, please.
Next question. The question that was asked of Patrick Mahomes, maybe by the same guy, I have no idea.
It was.
He says, there's been a lot of people that have helped you on this run, Patrick, that and whatever. He goes, and so which one is your favorite ref? And Patrick, he was really, and then he's just like, he turns away, and I'm just like,
yeah, it was the same guy.
Yeah,
that dude's my hero. That's good stuff.
The thing and here's the deal. I get it. I mean, you can go back to any games and you can find this, you can find that, and I think it's probably because we watched it for years with the Patriots, where you get to a Patriots game and all of a sudden there's stuff that's being called, and you're like, man, I have seen a guy get just bombarded way more than that, or whatever it is. And now it's become the Chiefs. Every time they need a call, every 3rd and 15, all Mahomes has to do is throw it in the air, and here comes a flag from somewhere, and everybody goes, oh my God. Like, I just think it's gotten to the point that whether it's legitimate or not, people watch their teams. Again, I watched Justin Fields get brutalized for 3 years. Not a flag. And I'm like, what's going on here? Now, I will tell you, I do think that, if you look at the NFL for what it is, it's a business. And the NFL wants to make sure that their stars and their whatever, are in the game and they're playing, not hurt or this or that. But I just think that when a quarterback decides to run, no matter what, you're a running back then.
Yeah.
So either don't run or understand that you are a running back and you have to treat it as so. Because when I look back to that Texans penalty,
Which one?
Texans, well, I know, but I'm saying the one where the two came together over top of him and they called the penalty. I'm like, those are the types of things that when people look at that, they say to themselves, more Chiefs favoritism. And so, right or wrong, you look at things like there was an egregious face mask by Jones on Cook in the Buffalo game. Right in the middle of the field. It wasn't amongst a bunch of offensive linemen or anything like that. It was right out in the middle of the field for all to see. As a Bears fan, I say to myself, if that's a Bears defensive tackle, that gets called 100 out of 100 times. So in my mind, I'm thinking, yep, there you go. We're not going to penalize the Chiefs. Fair or not, it is exactly what is out there. And the NFL clearly is hearing it because they have made statements. The ref group association, whatever, they have come out and said they're appalled that they would. Well,
Roger Goodell did this week.
So I'll ask you this, Chad. Could it be that even the officials believe that they're calling the game straight up, but even they have in their minds that, well, this is the Chiefs. Well, this is Patrick Mahomes. Is that a possibility, Chad?
Here's what I think about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL. You can like it. You can not like it.
Right.
He is. The league is going to protect the face of the NFL, just like did with Brady.
Yeah.
Just like the NBA woke up and finally did with Jordan. They put up with Detroit clubbing him and beating him with clubs for years.
But after that, Jordan was protected after that, though. After he beat Detroit, he was protected. Yeah.
Yep, he sure was. I can remember watching lots of games where he got all kinds of ticky-tack fouls in his favor.
Yeah.
The league recognized he generated revenue. He was the superstar of all superstars and needed to be. They have to protect because they don't want him getting hurt and missing a huge chunk of the season, because what does that do to viewership? The same thing is true of Patrick. So are there the two players crushing over the top of him? Was that an incorrect call? Sure. But they're going to protect the money cash maker, the biggest star in the league. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't matter if it's J.J. Arrington. It doesn't matter who it is. Once they become one of the big superstars of the league, they will be protected, especially the quarterbacks, because they're the most expensive. They're getting paid $55-60 million a year.
Well, evidently Sam Darnold's not a face of the league because
right.
I don't,
Because he
hey,
wasn't
dude, I sent you that graphic. The Vikings are at the far extreme of I sent you that graphic of the differential between penalties called on that team and penalties called on their opponents. And the Vikings led the way.
You know what you sound like? You sound like a butthurt Bears fan. That's what
you sound like a little bitch in denial.
Golly.
It was right there.
God, thank God for 1985, or you guys would be so butthurt.
Oh my word!
Talk NFL.
You know what I love, Chad? You know what I love, Chad? At least we have 1985.
Oh no, Ed, you got 1975. Oh, they blew.
Oh, they blew that one too. Wait, you have 90. You have 98. Oh, wait. Oh man. Oh.
And then there was 2009.
What are there five teams in NFL's history that have had 15 wins in the regular season and never won the Super Bowl? And 2 of them are the Vikings.
But my question,
and the average guy you would think would be butthurt, but when you're like me and you just love football.
Well, but here's my question, and Chad, you pointed this out. So Patrick Mahomes is the face of the league. Okay. When Patrick Mahomes got hurt in that first game in Kansas City of the year, when Jimmy Garoppolo came in, he hurt his knee. They exited him out. I can remember it was like the first quarter. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, and what rule did they create for that?
Yes, I understand that. But my question is this. How did it really hurt the NFL financially? Because if you look at the ratings out of the 100 viewed, it's like 97 NFL events, whatever, games, conference games, whatever. So my question is, if you're not going to protect Sam Darnold, which I get it, he's not Patrick Mahomes, but he's important to Minnesota. He's important to Ed. He's important to every other Viking fan. Justin Fields, when he was our quarterback, he was important to us, whether he wasn't important to the overall league. So why is it okay that the league's like, okay, go ahead and crush Justin Fields? But what I'm saying is, if a penalty is a penalty, why are the refs swallowing the flag when Justin Fields gets lit up? And then automatically, I mean, before the hit even happens, you can see the ref going this to grab the flag.
It's called Ben Roethlisberger. It's called the Ben Roethlisberger theory. Ben was so big and so strong, everybody got to rough him up all they wanted.
Josh Allen.
Flags were never thrown. Josh Allen's the same. Justin Fields is 6'4", 245 pounds, runs like a deer. So guess what? He gets that treatment. We'll see if your boy Josh Allen, the greatest football player in the history of the universe, gets that treatment eventually.
Well,
but I mean, that's the way it is. I explained it with my comparison with Jordan. I mean, that's the way it is. The simple fact is there are multiple fouls on every play on both teams. There's holding, there's offsides, there's hands to the face. There are so many penalties on each team, on each play. Do you want the game to go on or not?
But here's my argument to that. Okay, so we talked about Patrick Mahomes and protecting him with the 15-yarders. Okay. How is it last year? Kansas City led the league during the regular season in holding penalties. How many holding penalties did they have in the postseason last year?
I know you've told me this. There were none.
0. And when you watch the Kansas City-San Francisco game, there's multiple awful. Had Bosa's helmet right here, and he's wrapped around.
Problem is, they're at such key points in the game, too. Just like the Will Anderson hit on Patrick Mahomes. It was 3rd and long early, remember?
Both of those plays
were rough him, then I can rough you guys through the screen, and then Kansas City marches down there and scores a touchdown.
So what this might lead to is what you guys want, is more transparency. So this because here's what the NFL cares about. They care about gamblers and keeping gamblers happy. They've cared about it for decades. They've pretended like they didn't care. Now everybody knows they care.
Chad.
So if nobody has faith in the officiating, what this could lead to is your microphone in the on the replay calls.
But obviously they don't, Chad, because if they cared about the gamblers, they wouldn't be letting this year go on like it has. I mean, they don't even come out after the games and address the questionable calls.
Well,
look, this is the Super Bowl.
Is if gamblers aren't watching the game, that brings down viewership huge. So
that's what I was fixing to say. This is the Super Bowl, so it's going to automatically get good ratings. But don't be surprised if this isn't one of the least watched Super Bowls we've had in the last 10, 15 years. I would be surprised if it was well watched, to be honest with you. I expect viewership to be down.
But the penalties, the diversity between Kansas City and their opponent was like 66 to 36. Now, the argument can be, and I've heard this argument, and maybe it's so, is that, well, in crunch time, Kansas City is just so much more well coached, so much more well disciplined than the other team. That's why they're
coaching staff.
And I get it. You got
penalties.
You got Reed, but penalties when you're holding a guy and his helmet is in your arm right here, that's a hold. And for it to not get called, as a Bears fan, I'm like, that's called in the Bears every single time. Especially in a big moment.
I feel like I just got thrust into the Senate hearings.
Right.
Ed, watching pro football is like watching pro wrestling. Yes or no?
Okay.
Well,
so on that graphic I shared with you guys, where penalties called on opponents regular season 2022, with the Vikings leading the way with differential of 363. Does anybody remember where Kansas City is on that list?
No.
I don't know where it was at 22. I'm just talking about last year, but
okay. Well, I mean, people were complaining about it then. It's just escalated. They were 30th. The Vikings were number 1, running away.
Sooner or later, the other teams are going to quit cheating.
And the Chiefs are all the way at 30th. So the Vikings had 363. The Chiefs had 278. The Bears were 32nd with 263. So the Bears had 100 less than the Vikings. So where's the outrage?
You see.
Where's the outrage?
You guys need more practice time. Evidently, your execution.
Where's the outrage?
Hey, I do want to bring this up. I'm a big fan of Barstool Sports, and John Gruden is now with Barstool, and they were watching one of the games the other day on all those shabby couches they sit on, and one of the guys on the end said, "John, have you ever thought about when you were coaching, this gets rigged. What are we doing? What's the point?" And John Gruden did not hesitate. It was like it was rehearsed. He said, "No, I thought the tuck rule was absolutely legitimate." And I spit my drink across the room because it was just so,
well,
that goes back to what Eric said about New England used to always get favorable calls.
Listen,
and that was before New England was New England, though.
Penalties,
right. That's true.
To me, penalties are penalties. The thing that always just amazes me, I go back to the Kansas City-Houston game. Those two roughing the passer penalties happened on 3rd and longer than 10. I think one was 3rd and 12 and one was 3rd and 15, somewhere in that neighborhood. Both of those drives were continued by roughing the passers that ended in touchdowns. What I'm saying is penalties on the 20-yard line, or the whatever, okay. But it seemed like it was crucial times each. Now they say this was an argument
So Eric, as a football coach, let me ask you this. So you're playing a team and the number 1 quarterback in the state is on the other team. and he usually gets a lot of protected calls. And you got a 3rd and long coming up. There's a timeout. You pull your defensive players close to you. What do you tell them? Do you tell them, don't give the refs an excuse?
But now, high school rules
cut it close. If you're not
high school rules
play,
high school rules are different. But yes,
I
if the
understand
high school
that,
rules,
but-
if the high school rules were the same, I would be saying to them, listen, nothing up here. Don't give them a reason. Now, and you're referencing Will Anderson's hit. And this is where I go back to what the UFL does. You can throw a flag on that and say, I challenge that penalty. And they go back and they look. Helmets never come together. Now you have taken, instead of making it 1st and 10, it's now 4th and 12. I think it was.
Yeah, but the problem with that, it still was controversial because you got Dean Blind, Dino, sitting out there that at the beginning when he first started the season, and they had the head referee on the screen while they were reviewing the play. He would come right out in black and white, yes or no. And by the time the season was half over, even he was, there just isn't enough there. There just isn't enough there. We go with the call on the field. But anyway, guys, we got a Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. There's got to be more to talk. We spent over 20 minutes now talking about bad calls. Let's talk about the freaking Super Bowl, should we? I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about the Super Bowl, I guess we can.
I mean,
so here it is. Philadelphia 17-3 versus Kansas City 17-2.
Look at the you talk
the
about
Big Easy.
You talk about Philadelphia is playing their 21st game of the season.
Yeah.
They talk about the NFL season getting to be too long. Holy cow.
They're talking about adding game number 18.
It's going to get longer.
18 games and then add, Jesus.
You know why they want to go to 18? Because then everybody gets everybody gets their day off after the Super Bowl, because then it falls on Sunday before President's Day, and then President's Day is on Monday, and people can take the day off. I heard Goodell's, that came out of Goodell's mouth.
Plus this.
Oh yeah, plus that.
They like having you come in on a Friday and spending a full weekend spending money, and then you go to the Super Bowl, and then you have to stay overnight because it's too late to go anywhere. So yeah, they've got it all planned out.
But let's face it, and here's the deal: they can, because it will be. It's going to be a packed house, the Big East. It's fine.
Did you hear what the going rate for tickets
ticket prices for the nosebleeds is? We're talking nosebleeds, $4,000 a ticket.
Yeah, I remember
for the nosebleeds.
I remember back in 2009, I was promised to be going to the Super Bowl if they made it there. So I'm on looking at the Super Bowl packages, and it looked like it was going to cost about $10,000. Now, hell, you'd get 2 tickets to the game for $10,000.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's freaking nuts.
To me, I don't understand. I mean,
that's because it's so corporate.
It's so corporate anymore. But I mean, if I wanted to go to the Super Bowl, my wife and I could afford it. But in my mind, I'm like, why the hell would I ever do that?
I don't know.
It's $8,000 in tickets.
It has to be money. It's either you're like, okay, this is a once in a lifetime event, and so we're going to do this. Because you have to look at it as like, flying everybody to, wherever to have a vacation.
Yeah, wrong.
Here is the ultimate question. Brock hits it right on the head. Here is here's what you need to bet on. Trump and Swift in the same house. Who gets more camera time?
Oh, it ain't even close. It's Swift.
Swift.
Yeah.
Swift.
I really don't care about this whole Taylor Swift thing. I think it is hilarious that people get so angry and disgusted. Even Bill Belichick, when he was on with the Mannings and they panned over and showed Taylor Swift, and he's like, ugh. It's like, who cares? I don't
Well, the thing is, we tuned in to watch football. We don't give two shits about that lovely lady. We don't care.
I don't understand. Does the play happen and they still have the camera on her and you don't get to see the play? I mean, I can understand you disliking her.
It's
don't
not
care about that.
Yeah, I dislike her, but it's just look once or twice, but it's over and over and over.
What the rumor is? Nothing bigger than Super Bowl Sunday.
Yep.
Rumor has it, if the Kansas City Chiefs win the game on the field, Travis Kelce is going to pop the question on stage in front of millions and millions and millions of people.
My son
If that's the
Jack's been
case,
saying that for months.
If that's the case, the fix is in. Kansas City's the Super Bowl winner, and forget it.
Let's get into the game, shall we?
Yeah, let's get into the game.
Yeah, I'm tired. No Taylor Swift crap. I'm done with that.
So my question is, they always say Kansas City needs to, Andy Reid is, when he's had 2 weeks to prepare for a game, is practically unbeatable. But they talk about the fact that Saquon Barkley needs to be stopped, so Kansas City's going to load the box. I don't know if I agree with that, just because you load the box doesn't leave you much for plan B. And if he breaks through the line and breaks a tackle or two, he's gone.
Yeah.
So I think Kansas City is going to have a different style of defense planned for the game. What do you guys think?
Well, Spags is good. Go ahead.
He's
He's
good.
real good. Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But here's the deal, and this is it's kind of laughable. How many yards did Saquon Barkley have this year? 2,050. He was 100 yards off the record. Okay. Do you think that every single defensive coordinator throughout the entire year was thinking the same thing? I think they probably were. Let's stop Saquon Barkley and make Jalen Hurts beat us with his arm. Who's really been able to do that? I mean, nobody. The reason I think that doesn't, you can't automatically say, well, Spags is gonna have the ability to stop Saquon Barkley, so Hurts is gonna have to use them. I don't think Hurts has to get into a shootout and match Mahomes throw for throw. I think the most pivotal thing is, and here's where I think I still give Philadelphia an edge on defense, but I think the biggest edge that Philadelphia has going to this game is their offensive line. They are bruisers up there. There's a reason that Saquon rushed for over 2,000 yards this year. It's not because he's unbelievable, which he is.
MVP.
But I would agree with you. I would be great if he got the MVP. But that line is amazing. Mm-hmm. And I realize you got Jones there on the Kansas City side, but that line is amazing. And so that is why, and this is why I wish he would have went for the record, even though you can put an asterisk by it, more games, whatever. But that is why I think Kansas City is probably more vulnerable than maybe they have been in the past, is because if you can't stop that offensive line, you can't stop those road graders up front, Saquon Barkley, he gets into the next level, as Ed said, watch out, because he might be 4 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards, 60. That's Saquon Barkley behind this line. That's my thought.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. The secret, the whole, in my opinion, the whole game hinges on the Eagles' offensive line and Saquon Barkley. If the Eagles can run the ball, run consistently, run effectively, get big plays, big chunk plays, and dominate, they're going to wear Chris Jones and that defense out. They're going to keep the Magic Man off the field, and they can win the game. Because I know you guys don't like Jalen. I know I'm the Jalen lover of this group, and I'm a Jalen lover. Jalen is also It's a play action pass. Just pull it out of his belly, throw it to AJ. Boom.
Well, I agree with you,
play.
Chad. I agree with you, Chad, but I think if they utilize, and what I said, Jalen doesn't have to go toe-to-toe with Mahomes. If they get that running game going and they pick their spots, Jalen did a phenomenal job throwing the ball against the Commanders. He didn't throw it a lot, but when he did, it was effective. If they can keep that same thought process, I'm 100% on board with you. If Jalen can make those throws when asked to, time up. Do you know what I think the biggest marker for this game is going to be? Time of possession. If Philadelphia has a time of possession advantage on Kansas City, that means a couple of things to me. It means they're controlling the ball, they're running the ball, they're controlling the clock, and they're probably winning.
I agree. But with Mahomes, it can't just be 5-minute advantage. It's got to be 15, 20-minute advantage.
But no less than 10. No less than 10.
They've got it.
But Mahomes is a different quarterback in the playoffs. And by that, I mean, during the regular season, he's not much of a run threat. You can tell he's just kind of trying to bide his time in the pocket. He doesn't really want to run, chance getting hurt. But in the playoffs, he lays it on the line and he'll run. And so some of his biggest runs that he's had has been in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, I can see Patrick Mahomes.
Those safeties hit hard. Watch out.
Here's another factor, and you would know this, Brett, probably better than me.
Devontae Smith, Brock, the Slim Reaper. He asked a question about.
Right, Brett, you would know this better than me. How does Quinyon Mitchell?
Mm-hmm.
How does Cooper DeJean, being rookies, good rookies, real good rookies, how do they respond in this game? Because this is a different game above all other games. You know Mitchell, okay? How do they respond?
I mean, what I see here, and I said it before the season, one team has a coaching advantage, one team has a player advantage. It's crazy to say that Philadelphia has a better roster from top to bottom than Kansas City, but both their lines of scrimmage, their skill positions, Spags is probably the best defensive mind. I mean, he don't get the credit he deserves. He's fantastic.
Yes,
Andy Reid's been the best play caller off and on in the league for 20 years? I don't know, between Kansas City and Philadelphia. I hate to say this. It's going to be. I think it's going to be an instant classic. If I was putting money on the game, I would take Philadelphia. As much as I hate to say that, because every time I pick against Kansas City, I'm wrong. I just think Philadelphia's the better team now. It's going to look. Cooper DeJean and the Quinyon Mitchell, they're both pretty well coached, and they on the top end of talent. Philadelphia's got the advantage on both lines of scrimmage. And it's still a line of scrimmage game. I think Philadelphia and Barkley will have their way to a certain point until they have to stack the box. And then, like Chad mentioned, it'll be play action with Brown and Devontae Smith. Those cornerbacks with Kansas City will be out on an island. But it's going to be. I don't think Patrick's going to be able to run around and do whatever he wants to Sunday. So I don't think you're going to have to worry about those two having misreads or things of that nature, if that's what you're asking, since they're, such young players.
So then my question, Ed, is this. Most important unit for Philadelphia and most important unit for Kansas City. Give me what you think, Ed. Most important unit for Philadelphia, most important unit for Kansas City.
I would say the most important unit for Philadelphia is going to be their offense, because I think their defense is naturally is they're good enough that they're going to keep them in the game. So I think it comes down to, can Philadelphia put points on the board? But I will say this, if it gets to the fourth quarter and it's less than a one-score game, I give the advantage to Kansas City every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
And I agree with
So
that.
it's going to be very important for the Philadelphia offense to at least get a two-score lead heading into the fourth quarter, or Philadelphia's in trouble.
Yeah, I agree. If I can add on to that,
Yep.
because Chris Jones will then just take off his trench coat and turn into the best defensive player in the league for 15 minutes. He has a way in those close, huge games.
Yeah.
Chris Jones just out of nowhere. He's had an okay game. He's done all right. And then he just turns into a whole other person, and he destroys the game and takes it all over. And it's pretty crazy the way he can just flip that switch and turn it on. It's amazing that he doesn't turn it on a little earlier, but he just kind of holds his ground and waits. He's like a distance runner. He's ready for that stretch run, and then he just comes in and wrecks everything.
He is an absolute monster.
And then to answer your question for Kansas City, I would say Kansas City's defense, because as long as the Kansas City defense can hold the Eagles and stay, like I said, within that one-score striking range, I think Kansas City's offense is good enough to do what they have to do to win the Super Bowl. I mean, they show it every year. Comes down to crunch time, they get what they need,
I think the Kansas City receiving core has got to step up much more than they have.
What happened to DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah, he has done.
He's disappeared.
Nothing.
He's gone.
He has been zero help for them. He had
was
one
the
game.
First couple weeks he was okay, and then he went away.
So
I mean, Hollywood's been turned it on a little bit in the off. If they can get Worthy to catch the ball and light stuff up, that'll be huge, because it'll take the heat off of Kareem Hunt, who's been phenomenal this year, and they are leaning on that old bastard like crazy in the running game.
But on the same token, we talk about Jones. I will also say that I heard he had an illness, but I think he's going to be okay for Sunday. Jalen Carter has been a dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been a dude.
He hasn't done it as much in big games as Chris Jones has, but yes.
No. I mean, obviously different points of their career and stuff, but throughout the season, like, he has been a wrecking ball in there.
Yep.
So to me, I think the key for Philadelphia is, again, like I said, time of possession. Keep Mahomes sitting over there with a stocking hat on or whatever. I think if they can control the line of scrimmage, run the football, play the defense they're capable of playing, I think the number, and I'll ask each one of you this. To me, the number for Philadelphia is 27. I don't care how you get there. Get to 27 points. Kansas City's only scored 30 points one time this year, and that was 2 weeks ago, or when they played Buffalo. Philadelphia has a substantially better defense, I think, than Buffalo does. I think 27, no matter how you get there. No 4th and 4, go for it type stuff. Take the 3, get to 27. What do you think, Chad?
That sounds about right. Because I don't think the Kansas City wide receiver core can step up and do what they need to do. So yes, the Kansas City's got to keep them down around 24 points to have a shot in this game. That Philly defense is so good. The Jalen Carter thing, the only thing that worries me about him is he's lost his head a couple times over the last 4 or 5 games and gotten himself in a lot of trouble. This is the Super Bowl. You got to be a pro, man. Don't
Keep it
let them
together.
bait you. Don't let them get the cheese out and bait you, right, Brett? Don't want to do that.
So
He's
Brett,
he's a monster.
Brett, what's your number? You agree with 27, or you got another number in mind?
Yeah, it don't need to. I just keep, this is such an evenly matched game for so many reasons, but I just keep going back to what I said before the season, and I was a true believer in Philadelphia's roster. But again, I always said, well, what's the head coach going to do? They ended the season last year in such turmoil. Supposedly half the locker room was against this half of the locker room, and it was just a mess. But you look at their last 2 or 3 drafts and what they did in the free agency, and God, Philadelphia is just so loaded. And I think Philadelphia is going to win both lines of scrimmage. And, yeah, I think whoever scores probably 24, 27 points is going to win the game.
Ed?
I don't think it'll be any more than that.
I'll tell you who's been a diamond in the rough for Kansas City, and that's been Kareem Hunt.
Yep.
I agree.
He has saved their bacon. I thought last week he ran hard, man. I've always liked Kareem Hunt, even when he was with Cleveland. I just like his running style, and he's glad to be back in Kansas City. I know that, so I would be shocked if he's not wearing a Kansas City uniform again next year. But 24, 27, somewhere in there. I don't think it's going to be much more than that. I think the defenses are too good to let either side get out of hand with this one. So
I'm thinking if Kansas City wins this, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 28-24. I think if Philadelphia wins this, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 27-21, 27-24.
So let's go ahead.
That's my
Let's go ahead and do the pick. So we got time for a hot topic or two. So
Okay.
I'll go first, because I'm the season champion.
Ugh.
As you can see with the scroll going at the bottom, with one game
I had to
left,
take some last-minute Hail Marys, and they just didn't work. It just is what it is.
but as Brett's happy to hear, with the UFL season, the records go back to 0-0.
I mean,
so we'll clean the slate after this game.
after last year, does that really matter, Brett? I'm just saying.
Oh, I'm coming back for the belt. I'm going to look.
Just know
You won't be able to stop me. I don't even know if you'll be able to contain me. But
Just know the winning a season of pick'ems when we pick 217 games, it's going to be a little bit higher prestige compared to a UFL
You
season.
only say that because I won the UFL, and
And like
come
I
on.
said, Brett, we know the only reason Eric won is he didn't make his picks till the Friday night. So, anyway, so I'll go first because I'm that confident in my pick. I say the game is close. They go into the fourth quarter, 1-score game, and I've never betting against Andy Reid in a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. So I'm taking Kansas City to three-peat. And I will go something to the effect of, I'll say 27-24 Kansas City.
All right. I'll go next. There's a reason why we're damn near 60 Super Bowls in, and nobody's won 3 of these in a row. It's hard. The NFL is hard. I think that the Philadelphia coaching staff is way smarter than the Ravens coaching staff. And they're going to run the ball, play action to 2 superstar wide receivers. I think Philly's going to win this game. I can't believe I'm saying this. Philly's going to win this game, and they're going to win it 30-21.
We got Mike saying the Eagles. We got Henry saying the Eagles.
I'm saying I'm agreeing with Chad, maybe more so because I think that I agree with him that it's there's a reason it hasn't happened. But I have a feeling that I just think that even with Mahomes, Philadelphia is better on both sides of the ball. And if they don't pull a Baltimore Ravens and all of a sudden decide that Hurts needs to throw for 30 times, I just feel like this is the Eagles' time. I feel like last year with what all they went through, the 10-1 start, and then back into the playoffs and all the turmoil and everything that happened last year. I just think that defensively they're better. I think that offensively they're better. Brett's right. They're better on both sides of the ball player-wise. So I'm taking Philadelphia somewhere in the neighborhood of 27-21, 27-24.
Again,
Brett, you have a chance to side with the winner. What are you going to do?
No, I'm a hater, but I look. You look at who Kansas City has struggled with, in the playoffs. Philadelphia is so much more talented than Buffalo or Baltimore.
That's gonna,
and it's not even close.
That's gonna be my takeaway from the 2025 season. Is Brett telling and saying it again that Philadelphia is loaded.
Philadelphia is the most talented team in the league. Now, they've made it to the Super Bowl. Philadelphia 24-23. And it will only be that close because of the referees. Philadelphia will control the line of scrimmage, both lines of scrimmage.
I love you, Brett.
Fly, Eagles, fly. And of course, unfortunately, the Philadelphia Eagles fans are the worst in the league. Just don't burn down your city. Don't
do something stupid like that.
Don't beat up fans don't sucker punch people. Just act like normal human beings, please, for once in your life.
Yeah, don't flip cars over. Don't burn them. I mean, just be happy that your team won. You don't have to burn the city down with it. All right. Like,
I used to work for a company for years out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and just pretend you have some Southern hospitality and some class about you. Just that way it won't be so painful when I'm watching you guys celebrate and you end the Kansas City Chiefs run.
See, Robert's a voice of reason. He sided with the right guy.
Mike, Henry, Marty.
Chiefs beating the Eagles 28-24.
Mike's got a shootout 33-30. Henry doesn't have a score, but he's got the Eagles. So, yeah,
I just think the defenses are too good for that highest scoring game.
I just go back to trading away Tyreek was insanity. And they have not had the same offense since they traded him away.
No deep threat.
Kind of like the Dallas Mavericks trading away Luka.
Oh,
to my
basketball, but that was I'm still shocked about that. I'm not even NBA.
And Tyreek hasn't made no bones about finally admitting that he wishes he was back in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
it was just as much his fault he left than it was Kansas City's.
Yeah, I mean they've won 2 more Super Bowls, but they've had to work so extra hard for it because the offense just isn't the same.
No.
And you know what I would do if I was Ben Johnson, since we're Bears fans, or 3 out of the 4 of us are. I would offer Spags half my salary if I could get him in Chicago. I'm telling you, he's one hell of a defensive coordinator.
I know, Brett. What you're saying is that's not going to happen. But I mean, I'm okay.
I know
with
it's
Allen.
not going to happen.
I'm okay with Allen. I think he is a good DC.
Yeah, no, I'm
not a
with
good
you.
head coach, but I think he is a good DC.
Well, Spags isn't a good head coach either.
No.
John
Hot
Gruden.
topics.
I wish he was the head. I wish he was the Bears coach. What else are we talking about?
Well, he
Hot
wants to go
topics.
right into hot topics real quick here. We got 10 minutes
Is
left.
John Gruden going to ever make his way back into the NFL? His name is starting to come up more and
Yes.
more.
He's
Yes.
got to.
Yes.
He's got to. I mean,
He's too good of a football mind. It'll happen.
And the Bears should have hired him.
Well, I mean,
We should have hired Jim Harbaugh. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I mean, but here's the
He
deal.
went to the playoffs with a shitty roster. Let's be honest.
The thing about John Gruden is this. I think we can all agree that he has been blackballed to an extent.
Oh,
I think that's
for sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
But-
if the Raiders won't hire him back, he's definitely blackballed.
Yeah, but the thing about John Gruden is clearly with all the jobs that, of course, there's always 7, 6, 7, 8 jobs that are always open after every year. I think next year, the coaching pool, you got Mike McCarthy floating out there. He's obviously not going to get a job.
Right.
Okay. He's not going to get a job this year. Do I think Mike McCarthy is a good head coach? I do. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. He understands quarterbacks. He understands the offensive part of it. I just think Dallas, I mean, we could get into Dallas all day long. I just don't think Dallas is a very good fit for McCarthy. Coming from
It's not a
Green
good
Bay.
fit for anyone.
Yeah, it takes a unique person to go to Dallas and be successful. But so next year, we'll have our same 6, 7, 8 firings. I think next year's cycle is going to get a little thinner. I think you're really going to start to see the John Grudens. A Spagnuolo is not going to get a head coaching job. He's had 2. A Dennis Allen's not going to get a head coaching job. He's had 2.
So do you think John Gruden comes back into the league as a head coach, or does he start out?
Oh no, he's
a head coach or nothing.
He's
a head coach. He's a head coach or barstool. That's what John Gruden is.
Yeah.
Because
Do you think he jumps to college?
No. And
He
I'll tell you why.
was close a few years ago to taking the Tennessee job. He was.
But I'll tell you why I don't think so, Chad. And I know you watched the Chuck Long interview last year. I think there's a lot of guys that like a Chuck Long, and probably a lot of guys in the UFL. College has really become poisoned. I mean, it really has. This NIL and all those types of things, I think the John Grudens of the world and those types of coaches,
They're not going to put up with it.
It's why I'm still shocked that Bill
Belichick?
Belichick. I know, but that's why I'm still shocked about that.
Yeah.
I think Bill Belichick believes that his name is going to alleviate some of those stresses that maybe other college coaches. We'll see. It might. And I know North Carolina's throwing a pile of money with him, so he can do that. But
Right. If their NIL was 5 or 10 million this year, well, they've upped it to another 20 million for that. So
Yeah.
he's not going to have a problem
no,
getting talent.
I think that a John Gruden probably looks at college and goes, I'm not doing that. I mean, Nick Saban was the biggest cheerleader to take a John Gruden and say, I'm not going to college. Now, Bill Belichick has the ego where it's like, nil, portal, they're going to want to come to me. And that's fine. We'll see if that happens. But I think Nick Saban saying that nil and those things have ruined college football. And then Chuck Long reiterating that I would never take a head coaching job in college. I think those things have just they've kind of eliminated a lot of guys from saying, I'm going to go down to that level.
I don't know. Does he say that because he wouldn't want a head coaching job in college, or he knows he ain't going to get a head coaching job in college, so he says that.
Well, I think you might be right. You could be right, but tell me,
I wouldn't want to be the CEO of GE.
Right.
I wouldn't want that.
Yeah,
Okay?
you're right.
He's not knocking on my door to be their CEO.
Right. You could be right, but my question is,
look, Skip Holtz has turned down 5 jobs since he's been with UFL. He's got a little money in the bank. Could he make a lot more in college? Well, absolutely. He don't want to deal with the BS. I mean, I don't blame him.
But a John Gruden is not blackballed in college.
Oh no.
And so
I just got to believe college is gonna they're gonna realize this isn't working and we have to change something.
Well, I hope you're right. And so, well, I've said all along, I just feel like this is not sustainable in so many ways.
It's gonna be contracts. These young men are gonna have to sign contracts.
Now, if you do that, Chad, if they go to something like that, now I could see a John Gruden say, okay, at least I know if I go to a college position and I sign these kids to a contract, 3-year contract or whatever it is, I know I have them for 3 years. Until you have that type of guarantee, I just don't see the John Grudens of the world saying, I'm going to college over hopefully picking up a job in the NFL.
Good luck giving a 3-year contract to a 17-year-old. But ding, 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 ding. We're done with that one.
Yep.
Let's go to the next one. Where does Myles Garrett end up? Is he staying with Cleveland or is he going to go somewhere else?
Please, Chicago.
Not Chicago. Are you insane?
Why?
Do you want to trade 2 or 3 first-round picks and multiple second and third
No.
for him? We did this. We did this.
I don't.
We've done this.
It's called Matt.
Listen. For a price, I will take him, but not
the price you
not
want,
2
dude.
first rounders or anything like that.
Well, what do you think it's going to take to get him? I mean,
Yeah, it's going to take a lot.
They're talking two 1s, 2 2s, and a 3.
Oh no, then I'm out.
Yeah.
Edge.
We're not a player away, so he can go to Green Bay.
No, we're about 4 players away, 4 or 5.
2 years older than Mac was when we made the Mac deal. He's 29.
Yeah, I'm not in it for all that.
Look, I like Myles Garrett, and he's a hell of a player.
He is.
If I was him, I've got a couple of buddies that are Browns fans, bless their heart, and I said, good for him. He's been loyal to you guys, and I said he's played his ass off, and he's got the stats to prove it. He deserves a shot at the playoffs and winning a division and going to a conference championship and maybe even a Super Bowl. He's earned that, in my opinion. I agree. But 2 1s and 2 2s for someone's fixed turn 30, I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
If that's the case, if that's what they think that's going to be asking price, then I'm out. But if there was a way that, I mean,
you want to,
I guess I look at this.
You want to give up this year's number 10 pick?
Here's why I would be more. Here's where I would be more. Here's where I'd be more intrigued if it was like a.
I would give up a number 10 pick for him.
Here's the deal. I'm gonna agree with Brett. If it's this year's 1 and a 3 and maybe a 6 or a 5 or a 4, whatever, because Myles Garrett is proven. Okay, let's say we get 4 years out of him before we start to see a decline. Okay, he's proven. You draft an edge at 10, which I don't know. I think we're probably going to offensive tackle. But if you draft an edge at 10, not proven, not sure what for sure we're going to get at the NFL level.
It's a coin flip.
It's a coin flip. So I'm okay with that. Multiple number 1s. If like you said, Chad, 2 number 1s, 2 number 2s, and a 4, not a chance. But for a 1 number 1, yeah, because he's proven. He's going to do a job.
Here's why I say no. We are 2 seasons away.
We're 2 O-line linemen and 2 D linemen away from being a serious contender.
Correct.
Yeah.
I agree.
And so if you're trading for him, you're on the cusp. You're Green Bay, you're Detroit,
Baltimore?
You're ready to win a Super Bowl. You're right there, you're poised. Because he's going to be 30. And you think you're going to get 4 more years of him performing like that? You think he's going to perform like this at 34? No.
Do you guys have the list I sent earlier in the week? The cap space.
Mac hit 29, and he just he was
so
worthless as tits on a board.
The cap space. So here's the cap tracker as I have it. The highest cap space in the league is New England at 120 million.
Right.
Followed by the Raiders at 82 million. Here's the scary one. I think we can all agree. I think we can all agree that the Patriots and the Raiders are a little farther away.
Right.
The scary one is the Commanders are 3 with 89 million. That's scary.
Yeah. Because they're just a couple pieces away, maybe.
Yeah.
They made the conference championship with $89 million of cap space. That is, to me, the scariest team in the top 6. Then it's followed by the Chargers at 73, which we know they did a huge dump. They made the playoffs, but they did a huge dump to their offense and so on and so forth. Then the Cardinals at 71. Minnesota comes in at 5, 6 at 70. So Minnesota has some room. And then the Bears are right behind them at 66.
Problem is Minnesota really a legit contender at their quarterback situation? Look, Minnesota did a great job this year. They've got a good roster, good coaches, but they don't have a Super Bowl quarterback. I think everyone on here can agree with that.
Brett, actually, Ed, I'll let you take that. It's your quarterback. He just made the comment. Ed, go ahead.
Yeah, they're gonna. I like Minnesota's probably going to take a step backwards. That's not rocket science. You can't go 14-3 in the regular season, and to make a prediction of taking a step backwards isn't a big going out on the ledge. But I think they're going to commit to J.J. McCarthy, and so I think they're naturally going to take a step back. So you're probably looking at Minnesota being at least 2-3 years away.
So Ed, if they franchise tag Darnold, which I anticipate they're going to do you think they're going to franchise tag him for somewhere in the neighborhood of $42 million? And then the third game of the season, say they're 2-1, go to JJ McCarthy?
I say the only way I've been saying franchise tag all along, but I'm kind of taking the stance now that I don't necessarily think they're only going to franchise tag him if they have a relative assurance that he's going to be tradable. Because if they can trade him and get something out of him, then they can franchise tag him at an amount that it would be feasible for someone like a Seattle to come in and take him on. But Daniel Jones is sitting there in the weeds, and by all accounts, it sounds like Daniel Jones is willing to accept a backup role behind McCarthy. If that's the case, Daniel Jones they're going to get for pocket change compared to signing Darnold, because Jones is still making money off the Giants yet. So it can be a Russell Wilson deal, it can be a Justin Fields deal, and they can spend their money elsewhere where they need to fill in the pieces.
Yeah.
So
I agree with Ed on that.
My question to you is this then. If they franchise tag him like you're anticipating, they're going to have to, by the end of the season, sign him to some kind of deal to have him be tradable. Because if they franchise tag him and they get to the end of the season,
franchise tag, you can still trade him for 2 number 1s, right?
Yeah, but here's what I'm saying is, Don't take this the wrong way.
And you guys,
I'm not giving them 2 number ones for Sam Darnold.
2 number ones.
Chad, are you doing that?
But there's teams out there that are notorious for making bad deals.
Okay, all right. Maybe the Dallas Cowboys or some team like that. But I'm telling you right now.
The Saints, the Raiders, all those guys, they need quarterbacks, man.
Okay.
If anyone does that, they never need to be in football ever again.
Yes.
At any level.
Let me throw this scenario out to you, Ed, as we're talking about this. Vikings are 7. The 2-1s. The Vikings are 7-2 with Sam Darnold at the helm in his franchise tag year. Okay. What do you do? You're the GM of Minnesota. What do you do? You're 7-2.
I told you guys from the get-go that last year on draft night, you saw my reaction when they even thought about Sam Darnold. I am not a Sam Darnold fan. I'm not in favor of him being the Vikings quarterback, period. So get the best deal if there's any deal to be had and move on.
We're still on Myles Garrett, by the way, fellas. I'm guessing Baltimore or Washington is where he's going to end up.
I agree with you. I'm going to agree with you there. I actually could see Green Bay, even though I don't think if Chad is right on the asking price, I don't think Green Bay goes on a limb like that. That's not really their history.
No.
But I mean, I could see something like that. But I will tell you, Atlanta maybe. But I can tell you when it comes to Sam Darnold, I don't think things are leaning in Minnesota's favor either way.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with Myles Garrett. He's got no veto power.
No.
So they don't have to trade him to a contender. If Arizona steps up with the best offer, he gets traded to friggin' Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean, there are no guarantees that he is going to go to Philadelphia or Washington or Detroit or any of that. They do not care what he wants. Okay, you want out? Okay, well, we're going to get the best deal we can. No, I won't go. Okay, well,
realistically, I could see Myles Garrett going to the Commanders because of the cap space they have. Honestly, I don't think Baltimore is even an option for him when I'm looking at the cap space. I know they could free some up and do that kind of stuff.
And they're also expecting the cap to go up. So
a little bit, yes.
Well, pretty significant. What's the number on New England? Because I remember
131.
120.
Yeah, they think it's going to go up to 131 for them.
Okay, so that'd be 11 million
with the cap.
So that would put Baltimore at 28. I don't know what Myles Garrett's hit would be. But at the same time, I could see the Commanders if edge is where they're really lacking and they're close.
They don't have a good pass rush at all.
Right. So I could see the Commanders. I mean, realistically, you know how Jim Harbaugh is in San Diego? San Diego's a possibility because Khalil Mack sounds like he could be, maybe I'm retiring, maybe I'm not. Now, if he doesn't, then obviously there's no need for Myles Garrett with Bosa on one side and Mack on the other. But, I mean, Minnesota could be a possibility for Garrett as well. Maybe. Just with the cap space.
So one more area, and then we're going to have to call it Detroit fatigue, possibly. But you're looking at a franchise now that in one season has lost their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, the defensive line coach, the tight end coach, the wide receiver coach, the assistant quarterback coach, the passing game coach, whatever the hell that is.
Passing game coordinator.
So you're talking all these coaches that were willing to follow Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn out of Detroit. So I ask you guys, was it they really wanted to be with these coaches, or was it Dan Campbell fatigue and he had a little exodus of coaches that are ready to move on?
I'll do brief and then I'll turn over to Chad, because when Chad goes like this, he's got something to say. So here's my thought. I think it's both. One, I think because you lose both your offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, you've got some relationships that maybe aren't necessarily from your D-line coach to your head coach, but you have relationships from your D-line coach to your D coordinator because they work a lot closer together. I think it's some of that. I also think that it's kind of like rats on a ship. This should have been Detroit's year.
The last 2 years.
No. I could argue last year was like Detroit made the championship game. Like that was probably a good measuring stick for them. Like, but this year they're 15-2 in the regular season. I mean, things are looking like everything's firing on all cylinders. I realize they had a lot of defensive injuries.
That's what really got them.
And that's what got them. But, you know, we always talk about Super Bowl windows. Super Bowl windows are only so wide. Regardless, I don't care who you are, the Super Bowl windows are only so wide. So I think it's probably both. That when you lead up to this should be our year and it doesn't happen, look at San Francisco. Last year was San Francisco's year. What happened this year? They don't even make the playoffs. And I know injuries got them as well. But there's a little rebuild coming to San Francisco as well. Is there the same type of thing coming to Detroit maybe after next year? And those guys are saying to themselves, I like Ben Johnson. I like Aaron Glenn. You know, maybe Chicago is going to be on the rise. I can't say the same thing about the Jets, whatever. But because the Jets are the Jets and the Bears are the Bears. So who knows about that too. But I think those relationships brought those guys over with them. So I got to say it's both, you know, and I have to believe that when you're a coach and you're watching Dan Campbell do some of the things that he does, there's still a lot of coaches that really doesn't set very well. They're not going to come out publicly and say, Dan Campbell's an idiot for going for it, or Dan Campbell's an idiot for this. They're not going to say it publicly, but in their minds, they mark that away and go, it's really not my philosophy. It's really not what I want to be a part of. So I think you could probably say it's both.
I think it's Dan Campbell fatigue. The two coordinators leave. There's all kinds of opportunities to go in and get those jobs. Those are big promotions. And everybody decided, I'm out.
I'm out.
Take me with you.
Yeah.
Please take me with you. So
that's my stance as well. I think it's a lot more Dan Campbell fatigue than it is.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, has he even started backfilling any of these coaching positions? I don't think he has.
They promoted from within, I believe, for the D coordinator.
I mean, they've got a mountain to climb. All the good coaches are gone. He's gonna be scraping the bottom of the barrel unless he's got some secret potion to find some that are gonna backfill great. I mean, these guys, all those good assistants are all taken unless he thinks he's going to steal from Kansas City and maybe thinks he can bring in Nagy to run the offense, you know, or something. That's what I'm saying. I think they jumped ship and they were just fed up.
Yeah,
this isn't a high school. This isn't a high school. This is a pros.
So with that, guys, we're gonna have to wrap.
Well, we gotta get Brett. Brett, What do you think, Brett?
Detroit's in trouble. They again, similar to Philadelphia, they've got a lot of talent, but they don't have talent like they need to on both lines of scrimmage, and losing all those coaches and coordinators is going to really talk about a step back. Maybe 9-8, 10-7 next year. depending on what we see with the draft and free agency, that'd be a pretty hefty step back, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no question. Okay, Ed, we got to quit. We got to be done.
Well, with that said, we want to thank everybody out there that allows us to post our show to their page. It's been a long college and NFL season, and so we really appreciate everybody who stuck with us during the whole season. We're going to put a nice bow on it after this Sunday, and then it's time for the UFL season to start. But as we did last year, there's going to be times where we'll do either a special show or whatever on the NFL or college, but most likely we'll be doing a live draft again like we did last year. Had a lot of fun with that. So a lot of good things in the mix, but Wednesday nights, we're going to stick with Wednesday nights. Got a little conflict next Wednesday's show. The St. Louis Battlehawks are doing their fan appreciation night at Ballpark Village on Wednesday from 6 to 9. So I got to figure out whether I'm going to make a quick appearance and come in hot or whether I'm going to let you guys take it. We'll have to see.
Boys, he's giving us the keys to the car. Dad's giving us the keys to the car.
There goes the sponsors.
Bye-bye, sponsors.
So anyway, with that said, I'm sure everybody's got Super Bowl parties this weekend, so enjoy. But as always, don't drink and drive. Super Bowl should be on Saturdays, not Sundays, but who am I?
And give us a like and follow on Facebook, X, subscribe on YouTube. It's free. Because there is going to come a time, we're just being honest, there's going to come a time where the only way that you can pick up the bottom line is on YouTube. That's the way a lot of things are going. So, I mean, I guess we have to follow along, and it's just easier for us. So subscribe on YouTube so you're always locked in. You can get alerts when the show comes on, things like that. So, but we appreciate everything, guys. I mean, it's just four dudes that are good friends that like to talk football every Wednesday. So, we definitely appreciate it and hope you enjoy it anyway. So other than Chad, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
or Brett taking the cheese, whatever.
So with that said, we'll see everybody next Wednesday. Have a good weekend and enjoy the Super Bowl.
Peace out.
And that's the bottom line.